So welcome to our first Sounds Like Song. I don't know what we're calling this. This is like a meeting well, it is a meeting, but this is like our late night chit chat. Tal and I have talked about doing something like this with the channel. And I think we just decided this week was the right week to do it. In particular, we're both working on our own podcast. So we're spending less time talking to each other because we're talking to everyone else, which is what we planned. But it's nice to be able to get our conversations in too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a useful way of talking to each other because otherwise it just gets drowned in like 2-hour phone calls, which end up becoming very interesting podcasts. That I'm like, damn it, I wish we were recording.
I know, and it's usually
it's cool
at
to do that way. And from the comfort of our house,
Well, and always it's at like the 1 hour and 45 minutes where we're like, we should have been recording this.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, because this is video only, are you drinking yerba mate?
Yerba mate?
Yeah, what are you drinking over there?
No, I'm drinking side lunch.
Oh.
Yeah. When was it? Summer of 2019, I think. Yeah. So Sam, the drummer for Ascot Royals, got married in October 2019, and in the summer we did his bachelor party in Collingwood. So there was like a whole brewery tour that we did, and this is gonna sound so stupid and basic of me, but it's the truth. We went, and I'm not even sure that that's the brewery, but we went to side launch, and I remember walking in, and I saw a picture of a guy on a surfboard diving under a wave in Collingwood, because you can surf in Collingwood, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. These guys love lake surfing, and and so I was like, oh, I should try them when I get to Toronto. So that was like my reason for deciding to try their beer. I mean, I tried their beer there, and it was awesome, but I was already I visited a bunch of breweries, and at this point, the flavor of the beer wasn't what was getting me. So I decided to give it to try when I came back home, and then I bought a couple, and I was like, you know what? These are actually really damn good. Like the straight up wheat lager they make is kind of awesome, and I'm not like a guy with very specific preferences in beer. But yeah, I've just been really into the side launch wheat lagers, so I've been drinking them like a motherfucker.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they are good. They're really good. I'm on a dry month, so I'm definitely jealous. I thought you were drinking tea in a can, so I was curious.
No. I mean, I decided that I need to stop drinking coffee so late in the day.
Oh, so you switched to beer. That's a great idea.
Exactly. I saw this meme during Corona, like the early couple of months, where there's what do you call it when there's like a people run in a race, and it's like you pass the
a relay race, the baton.
Relay, exactly. Yeah. So it's like the coffee passing it to the beer, like at 6 o'clock or something. So. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's definitely not the way I'm living life right now. I don't actually drink that much, but if I do drink, then I'll have a beer. But I don't really have like coffee or tea very late because I just don't sleep very well after.
I hear you. I do a lot of late nights. I think I'm developing like a stimulant cutoff now. So it's like after. I think 1 p.m. it's done. So, but I will say now that we're on this. Well, I would say that because we're on this subject, Tal, you've done one of these things that I had never seen anyone do, and it's so logical. But you have a faucet on your sink with a hose that's long enough to go directly into your coffee machine.
Yep.
Hats off to you.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say that was intentional, but it wasn't. It just came with the house, and One day I was trying to fill the coffee machine. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, I'm gonna be so over caffeinated now because it's so easy. It's just so easy to make coffee. Like making a pot takes me literally like a second, and it's like water, and then and now it's my blood type. So yeah,
Off to the races. So
yeah. Well, I mean, look, in the recent, in light of recent events, I try to stay as on as I can because I think the like missing out on like what life was before. I've been trying to just get so much more done, and some days it's a successful thing, and I'm like up at 7 and go to bed at midnight, and all day I'm just on and just doing stuff. And then some days I wake up with that same motivation, but I just can't get anything done because my mind is just, you know, not working.
Yeah, I've been going on and off from that. I mean I try to push it, but there have been especially January. They're just like this whole week I've been really forcing myself to be productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know, like something about New Year's this year, like the whole holiday period, hit me a little different because I usually don't really take that time off. It's just, if there's work, I'll work. There's always work. But this year, I really wanted to take a step back and just kind of relax. And I feel like I never really bounced back from it. I kind of want to relax even more. I want to go away for like a month and just turn my phone off and be somewhere warm in the ocean. But uh, that's not happening anytime soon.
I know, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask, you've done 10 episodes of Everything But the Song.
Yeah.
That's a milestone. In the first 10 episodes, I had like 3 milestones, like the first episode, the 5th episode, the 10th episode.
Yeah.
What I also realized is once you get into 10, you're like, oh my gosh, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see with you, how do you feel now that you've hit the milestone of 10?
I mean, it's a weird thing to do because you think about it so much at first and you think like, oh, like there's going to be all these challenges and all these things. And at the end of the day, the technical side is pretty straightforward. It's something that I do every day, which is plug in a microphone and, and make sounds into it. Except I'm not looking for musical notes. I'm just looking, we're just having conversations. So it's really that simple. It really is just plugging in 2 microphones and talking into them with someone that you find interesting. But the other thing is like, there's everything around it with, the just all the, I don't know, logistical things that you have to kind of take care of to have a podcast actually come up, which you've helped me set up and understand it. And once, honestly, I'm very lucky because you did all the legwork. So you just came and said like, this is how you make a podcast. And I was like, all right, cool. So that seems to work. So I'll do it. So I've been surprised at how not so hard it was. Like it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be in terms of just the technical side. The hard side could be with just, getting guests and sometimes maintaining a conversation in a way that isn't as scattered. I'm very scattered when I talk because, maybe that's why I like Bert Kreischer so much. I feel very much, I feel like if I just let myself go, I would be like him. But when I'm having conversations, I have a lot of different things that go through my mind, and I don't know, I can lead myself there, and I can lead the guest there. And so I think one of the important things I kind of started noticing is that I'm actually a bit more aware of what I'm doing and how I'm talking to the guest and what kind of conversations I'm having with them. And if I'm feeling like it's not going where I want it to go in terms of like the information that I want to get from them, then I'm able to sort of push it to that direction. which is cool and it's fun and it's it's definitely a new challenge, but it's I don't know, it's been fun. It's been really cool too to like talk to people that I know, because most of the people I've spoken to so far are people I know, because I think I'm a bit more comfortable with it at the moment. I think other than Dr. Draw, which was by far one of the wildest conversations I've had with anybody, period, just because of that was the first time I ever spoke to him, period. Like I didn't even know what his voice sounded like, and I hit record, and it's like, that's it. That's Eugene. And the other thing is like, he's a wild character. He's a very interesting dude. And so I didn't really know where it was gonna go and how, but that was cool too, because of the uncertainty and because of like the going into the unknown. Yeah, and then I'm just, with that, just looking forward is there's a lot of excitement because I'm now seeing the possibilities. I'm now seeing the kind of conversations I can have with people, because even with the people I knew, having spoken to them, it was really cool to find things about them that I've never known. I've never, I had a call with, not a call, a podcast with, say Andrew Wayley. And, we're talking like we spent a lot of time together, both through music and surfing. And then things that I never knew about him came up in that conversation, and it's awesome. And it was also awesome to hear other things that, he went through, whatever, like when he spoke to you in your podcast. And then, my episode with, every single episode, I was going to say, like, Johnny Shea, for example, like he spoke about things that I was like, I did not know that about. I didn't know that you were struggling with, certain feelings, certain things like that. And Christee Palace, I never knew she was like a really bad student, could have never imagined it. There's all these things that I'm, with people that I know and I have a certain perception of, and all it's a very new perspective I have about this person now, and it's awesome. It's been really fun.
Well, it's really, what I like too is that we've had a couple of, in the same period of time, a couple of the same guests, Andrew Wayley, Christee Palace in particular, and it has been interesting to listen to both the episodes and realize that the two of us can have concurrent podcasts with the same person and have this absolutely different conversation. And I was interested in those two in particular because we kind of recorded them like almost on the same day. And
Yep.
I was almost interested to see like how are our two podcasts going to vary outside of just us being different people. And
Yeah.
I remember being in a Walmart listening to the Andrew Wayley podcast as he was telling this story about him going to Australia and getting a job at a guitar store. And I was thinking like, I talked to Andrew for an hour and we didn't even fall upon this story, yet our episode we did together was so interesting. I think that is really cool that we're able to, well, it really is a testament to the fact that artists are multi-layered. And I think that we're discovering that in a lot of people. If you and I both get them, our conversations are going to be completely different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly something that I came to mind when you just said that. I was like, the fact that we were having these completely different conversations with this person, the same framework of a podcast, is really a testament to how interesting people can be. And yeah, like you said, they have many layers, and not. It just depends on where you search. And with your podcast, you have sort of a certain direction that you'd like to take the conversation in, whereas I'm trying to take it somewhere else. So we'll dig for different materials and find them, and it's awesome. I'm very happy too that in a way I feel like my podcast is a supplemental fill in the blank podcast to yours, where if they get one side of the story from you, they can get some of the backstory for me, and it's cool. It's really, really. I mean, I can't wait for the day where it's like, one of these artists hits it really, really big, and then somebody goes back and listens to two of those episodes and go, oh, look at all this information I have about them now. That's fascinating.
Well, I think that, we're going to look extremely smart. But I honestly, I really hope that, like, a Dawson Gamble, for example, all of a sudden has this huge explosion and everyone talks about this overnight sensation, and they find our podcasts talking to, someone that's, so disciplined and developed and all those things, but to hear them just talk earnestly. And I think that it'll be really special to get those types of things. And we've been able to cover some pretty cool stories.
Yeah, quite a few of them just going like, "Oh, I've sat with you in a room for 10 hours and never heard this before." Which I thought would be something that would be like very influential, on your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's cool, and I also think that, as we grow, as more guests come about, and we find more things, we're gonna see crazier and crazier things happen with this, because the range of humans that we're gonna get to encounter is just gonna be so much more diverse. So I'm straight up just intrigued.
Yeah. Well, I'm 110 episodes ahead of you, let's say. And at the rate that we're going, I'll always be 110 episodes ahead of you. But what I remember talking...
I hope there's no reason for any of that to stop. So.
Well, that's true. Well, one of the things I remember telling you at like episode 5 is I was like, you have no idea if episode 17 is going to give you, work or ask you to take on an opportunity that takes your life in a whole new direction. And with artistry too, there's like an element of like being a tradesman, being someone for hire, and you never know who you're going to have a conversation with. This is no different than if you just randomly meet someone at a gig or a bar and you start a working relationship, and then 2 years later you're somewhere amazing and you go, I can't believe this came from this conversation. Well, what's amazing with starting this podcast and encouragement for anyone to start something like this is that you're manufacturing those moments to happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we've got an artist on the line that's going to join us, Altered by Mom. I'm just going to see if we could bring them into the chat.
Oh, nice.
Oh, your camera's not on.
My camera's not on.
Here we go. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
So Gina and Devin, this is Tal.
Yeah.
Hi, Tal.
Hey, nice
Tal,
to meet you.
Nice
Tal
to see
has
you.
the Everything But the Song podcast, which is the sister podcast to All About the Song.
So cool.
Awesome.
So on Tal's behalf, he'll probably be interviewing you one day, but we wanted to kind of do this as a little special YouTube thing because unfortunately I recorded an episode with Altered by Mom and we lost one of the recordings, which is...
It happens,
Well, you know what, Devin? What was the worst part about it is that after we hit exit on the Zoom and it processes the video, my video just went like it just processed so quickly. And I had just purchased like Zoom, like the professional version of Zoom.
So you were thinking, wow, Zoom Professional has features.
Man, they really, they give us like, this is what we're paying for. So I was just like, man, this is really cool. I feel like a professional
for 10 minutes.
So for you, Tal, I'd like to let you know that Gina and Devin spent 2020 each week. They released a song. So they finished a couple weeks ago and they put out 52 songs in the year, which we talked about in the podcast, which was so fun to do. But I got to say, I didn't get that episode finished until about 2 a.m. because I was listening to your songs because there were 52 of them.
Because there were so many.
We're so sorry.
No, but it was fun. It was like, I was like, what? Okay, what's going to work in the episode? I was like, okay. And then I had kind of notes as to what would have sounded best because we talked about these types of songs throughout the podcast. But because I had to select from 52, I was also like, okay, well, I like this song. And then I was trying to hear, like, was there like a development throughout it? And then all of a sudden it's like 1:45 in the morning. I haven't recorded an intro. I haven't done anything because I'm just listening to the tunes and I'm trying to like kind of take it all in. And I've realized that this is going to be like a big, this could be a big undertaking to like understand it all. I'm really glad that you have the songs on Bandcamp as well for purchase.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. That's a wild undertaking for sure. And oddly enough, like I must confess, we've ended up doing it also. I like the songs.
Oh yeah,
I don't know the last time that I listened to all 52 in a row, but
if I have a long walk to do, I put them all on a playlist for folks if they want to indulge and listen till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's we probably listen to that playlist the most. But it's nice because I can just put them on and and I put them on shuffle and it's like, oh, what song is going to come up next? And I don't know. It's a nice way to look back and feel good about.
Did you find that there was a development?
No, it was like, but also what bugged me. So
same.
No, well, but what this is what like the more I thought about you guys doing this, I actually had so many kind of developed thoughts after we spoke, and one of the big things was that you guys were coming into this seasoned. You had written, released, recorded songs and stuff, so this wasn't like a let's prove something to us. So it wasn't exactly like there was like, week 1 in January, week 2, it's getting better, week 3, like it all hits the same standard, which was really cool.
Thank you.
But
That's
then
so
also,
nice.
well, some of the titles of the songs were like more jokey, and then you'd listen to the song, you're like, oh, there's no like, they're not kidding around. And that was the other cool thing is that you had some titles where I'm going like, okay, maybe this one was like, it's just going to be like an acoustic jam or something. And it wasn't. And
oh no.
It was, and also the layering of both of your vocals on almost every one of the songs is really cool too.
Thank you. Well, that's
much.
this guy.
Oh, I just love singing with you.
He's a magician when it comes to producing and all that kind of stuff. So
it's easy to mold when the clay is already in the shape of a statue.
Oh, Clem's here. Our cat.
Yeah, this is one of our cats.
He loves being in the studio. I'm so glad you listened. Thank you so much. It's so nice. It's so nice to hear feedback on some of the tunes. So thank you for that.
Well, the other thing too that I was thinking, because I think that a lot of people think of this as an idea to get someone's attention. I think perhaps in a way that 10 years ago you would hear, someone in a green room after a show or something say like, if you want to get the record company's attention, like hire a forklift and, bring yourselves 30 feet high and to be level with their window and do a showcase or something. And you're like, maybe that works, but probably you'll just be remembered as the forklift band. Whereas when you guys do 52 songs in a year, that could have been the end of the band. A lot of people would have maybe petered out halfway through, but also the fact that you guys stuck with it and didn't kind of have like at the end of December be like, oh my God, I never want to write a song again type of feeling. You're kind of like songwriting ultra marathoners at this point.
It's kind of funny because it was more of the opposite of thinking that this would be the pièce de résistance or opus or whatever. It was more like, if we don't do this, maybe we'll disappear. So like, let's keep doing stuff. And it was nice that we had stuff to talk about and, kind of be like, make a little bit of noise and you know what I mean? Through all the pandemic stuff. So I think it was really nice. And then I think it like we had said before, it kind of inspired us to keep writing and to keep going because lots of good things are happening now that it's done. So it's kind of exciting.
If I may, this is something that I always think about because writing songs it's not exactly like an emotionally easy situation. Like unless you're like everything you write is a joke, which that could be a different like comedic situation. But like most songs, deal with certain real feelings, real scenarios, things like that. Like, but conjuring up like 52 scenarios or 52 emotional spaces that have to then end up in a song, like what does that do to your psyche after like a year of like just bringing all that stuff up?
Free therapy.
Nice. That was pretty good. Yeah, I think like luckily I'm very caffeinated, so that's how I dealt with it. I guess, but yeah, I do think that my goal was I thought that we would have some joke songs or some throwaway songs. And I'm surprised to say at the end of it, I don't think we did. And
There is one.
But even that is not really a joke.
There's one song that we released on Thanksgiving that was a parody of our own song, and that's true about turkeys. So.
Yeah, we took a very romantic song, that I think is very romantic, and made it about turkeys. But even that, I think we executed that. There was an interesting development because I think like I'm just a better singer by the time we got to the parody version in October than when we had originally recorded it like early in the year, January, February kind of thing. And it's just like listening to it, I'm like, well, the joke version of this sounds a lot cleaner and all of that. But yeah, and I was feeling those real feelings around Thanksgiving, like I don't want to eat meat. We didn't for the longest time. During this pandemic, I started again. I think because I felt there's so many other restrictions on me that I just needed something. I'm like, I can't, this thing that I'm imposing on myself, like has to let go. It was a moment of weakness. But luckily we fixed that the other day by trying to take a trip to the grocery store, took a wrong turn and walked past a meat processing plant and just like listened to the wildest sawing away the whole industrial block, and we're both kind of eyes are twitching and all that. So
it was a nightmare.
A
lot of the songs too. I mean, there was a few times where we sat down and like wrote a complete song, but a lot of the whole process, we took bits from other times of sitting down and songwriting. So for like a lot of the tunes, I would have a chorus that I wrote, 6 months prior, 6 years prior, and we would take that bit and create it into something completely new. So, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about songwriting is that you don't necessarily have to convey a certain clear emotion in that moment. If you make one that's a little less clear, a little more vague, then I find that it's more open to interpretation. And then that song belongs to you more so than it would if I'm like, here's a song about how I'm feeling today exactly. And if you've never felt that way, then you can't relate. But if it's kind of more open to interpretation, then people feel more ownership and they feel more connection to that song. And I think that is a beautiful thing about songwriting is that you can, for a lot of the songs, especially that we wrote, there's definitely a theme. You can usually pinpoint what we're getting at, but not entirely. So that leaves it open to you filling in your own story when you're listening to that song, whatever you're going through. And that is one of my favorite things about it.
And then those moments of specificity when we are like, this is what we're talking about, it's very clear, become all the more powerful. It's not 52 little mini lectures, I guess. There's some dreamscapes, there's some journeys, there's some musings, and then there are a couple lectures.
Well, you guys also did a good job at being non-formulaic, if that's a real word. But you were very, I don't want to say like it seemed that basically seemed any song could go any way, but it was cool that they did because I would get stuck in a formula and need someone like Tal to be like, hey, the last 3 songs sound the exact same. And you guys did a really great job where if you took all the weeks and randomized it, I don't think the album would have a different character. There's no arc, which is really cool. They all stand on their own.
Thank you. That's really nice. I do think that there are a couple songs just because I wrote them and I've been scrutinizing them under a microscope. But, I do think they're, just from my point of view, like I think that a couple of my songs, if you played them back to back, you might see some similarities. But yeah, I do think over the scope of it. And I think that comes from where we got the songs and, where we were at when we were approaching this whole project and things like that. Like we really like to kind of start in a really weird place a lot of the time. Like, Devin will write just this melody that has nothing to do with anything, and then we'll expand on that, and see where it goes from there. So I think that, when there is no formula in your approach to songwriting, it doesn't become formulaic.
I 100% agree with that statement. I think, when I did my own band's record last year, time doesn't mean anything to me, but sometime, I think 2019, September, whatever, a lot of, we had a bunch of material ready to go, but then when we did our record in LA and we just recorded in our producer's house, and a lot of the newer songs that came in that weren't in the catalog before were just a result of the environment we were in. Oh, that's a nice cattail.
Extra ploofy.
Yeah. So anyways, like that, those songs that came towards the end of the process that just kind of came out of nowhere because we were in the same room together, they did have a certain feel to them because of the situation we were in. We were in a different environment, in a different room, in a different country, weather, whatever, like anything that could affect it. And that then took all the other songs and said like, hey, so all the other songs that came from before, can we make them a bit more like this? Like, can we just kind of drag them into that same environment because this feels good? So, but I do agree that like having those different starting points and different like reasons why you start, because for us, for example, we wrote songs usually starting from a lyric or starting from a guitar riff, because I'm a guitar player and he's a singer. But our producer, who also played drums on the record, is a drummer, and a badass one at that. So a lot of songs started with him just going like, how about this? That's kind of sick. Okay, cool. So I totally hear that, and good for you guys for not getting stuck on one thing, because it tends to happen to people.
It does. And it's, the other part of it too is that we weren't writing an album. We were releasing a song a week. So that's the other thing too.
It couldn't be cohesive.
Yeah, right? I mean, how do you write songs for a year and make them cohesive? It's kind of impossible, right? But we did release them as collections, which are what is on Bandcamp right now. So there's kind of three volumes, I guess. Yeah. Of the tunes, which to me, they sound like they're in a collection because they're of the time when we released them in consecutive order. So that's kind of like, oh, this was at the beginning of the pandemic. This is in the middle of the pandemic. Oh, we're still in the pandemic at the end.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like a meme.
Our whole record is a meme.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I wanted to a question I forgot to ask on our original conversation was with regards to the artwork for all 52 songs. Was that ever a thing? Like, okay, we got the song, now we got to do the artwork. Or did that just come really naturally?
Hilariously, the artwork definitely was done in chunks. And like a lot of it was done, I think in 2 cases, songs were written because artwork was done for them. Like it was just like, oh, this is really cool. And it kind of like, oh, this title is kind of neat. And then it would have that image and all of that. And we'd sort of set ourselves an easy target to hit when it came to the artwork, just because we were imagining being crunched for time on the song stuff, and just sort of set up a simple formula where it's sort of like, we want an image that is a bit inspired by the song or the themes of the song or some lyrics in the song. Sometimes it's more obvious than others, and just a simple kind of stylized font that had a bit of like grit and slickness to it, if I can describe it as opposite things. And that, it always got some thought, but we would definitely put it together in like Okay, let's look at, because we were always working about 8 weeks ahead. That was our goal. Just in terms of getting everything to distribution and all of that in time. It was important to me to never miss a deadline. Just seemed like it only works if we hit every Tuesday, and we actually did. We weren't always 8 weeks ahead, I will admit, but generally, yeah, I would sort of we'd get 8 weeks ahead on the artwork, catch up, and just do another bunch in one go.
That makes sense. Okay.
There's only one that I don't like. That's the only regret I have from the whole project is the artwork for one song that I think is horrible, and I don't know how.
Well, and I think, speaking of artwork, I think we're going to do for the vinyl that we're going to make, hopefully.
Yeah.
We're going to make kind of a complete vinyl from all the 52 pieces of artwork from it. So have it kind of be like a little bit of a collage of all the of all.
Well,
the
luckily,
bits.
it's going to be 49 pieces of artwork.
Right. That makes it
so I can cut out the one that I don't like.
You'll have to
Well,
guess
but
which one.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good average, and sometimes it is those, like, you know, there's always like that big thing you have to do, which is like this song. All those extra things, when you're sometimes seem bigger in the moment. Like you're like, oh my gosh, even, you know, to set up a rehearsal feels great, and then all of a sudden it's 1 a.m. and you're like rapping chords. You're like, oh my God, why is this taking so long? But
Well, that's it. Like, it's, you know, we kind of touched on it before, but it's, you know, you write the song, you produce the song, you release the song, and then comes all the other stuff. You know, you have to promote it, and you have to do the artwork, and you have to, you know, post it on all the socials and all that stuff. So yeah, we were trying definitely not to overload ourselves with too much of the other stuff. So, but I think the album artworks are kind of beautifully simplistic in that way. You know, they don't distract too much from what we're promoting, which is the music, not the artwork.
Yeah, that's true. And again, we decided to do sort of a simple, because we didn't want to just harp on people all year either. It's like, hey, guess what? Another thing. But we wanted to share it, and we wanted to keep people appraised of our progress. But Gina started just putting together Instagram grids of the artwork. And so if you look for all of 2020, I think there are a couple other pictures in there, but it mostly is just the artwork, and it doesn't really. I think you're not really supposed to do that on Instagram. It's not like a lot of this was like how not to do Instagram, how to get Spotify uninterested in what you're doing. Is like, don't have a focus. Change up what you're talking about every week. Change the style of your music every week. Change who's singing, what the songs are about. Have like just make it really hard for people to get through the music and create a giant masterwork that keeps people up to 2 a.m. Trying to get through it to do their jobs. And like, I had a great time. So.
yeah. No, it's great. And I want to give a special shout out to Catch and Release. The reason why I listened to that song was the album cover. And then I listened to that song for like a half an hour, and then was like, oh my God, like you have to, like, let's go, Mike, come on. And but it was I think this is like such a really amazing thing that you've done, and I continue to think about it. And I really do believe that, and Tal and I were talking about this before you guys joined on, is when you put something out, like we're putting out these podcasts, and you're manufacturing opportunities in this sense. Like, whereas you might run into somebody like Tal, Gina, Devin, and I met in person because of a mutual friend who, you know, was provinces across. How we connected, it was just wild, and it turned out that I was at one of their shows the week before, which, as we all know in this group, when you're introduced cold to a group of people and then you say to them like, oh, I play in a band, and the other person says, I was at that gig last week. I mean, no better feeling, because you're all connected. You're all connected, and you know,
it's very university.
Feels nice.
Yeah.
But when you put stuff out, when you put 52 songs out or 52 podcasts out in a year or something like that, like, you're manufacturing the opportunity to meet somebody, and not even to look at it as a business sense. Like, just you could end up somewhere next summer. You could be like, who knows, playing a show in Australia or going on a trip to Europe or doing all these things, and you can kind of look at each other and be like, I can't believe the song Be Anybody was, Elon Musk's favorite song. He heard it, and now, now we have a plane. But that's such a random thing. But there are always these opportunities that you're creating.
I'm into it.
Yeah, okay, good.
And I mean, and now, we're friends with Nigel Pulsford. So if we ever get to go to England, like, we're going to hit him up,
Of course. Well, I want to say thank you to both of you. We're going to have you on a podcast again soon. And
thank you.
I'm really glad that you came on.
Thanks for the support. I've been eyeing your sweet guitar rack this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see ours in the corner there, but it looks like we've got lots to talk about. Yeah. I know.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Do I need to help you? Yeah, there you go.
It's even worse when both parties are addicted to it in the same marriage.
Yeah,
So.
there are multiple rooms in this place where you can go and there's just like a 5 guitar rack filled with things. It's like, what are we doing? But then
silly.
I do try and keep it slim on the gear. But
There's so many keyboards too. Like it's
so
just
good.
there's 3 out there, 3 in here. It's just it's bad.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I think you were wrapping up and I just
That's
decided
okay.
I was like so happy to talk to other people right now. And I'm like, no, don't go.
Well,
doing what my parents always do to me, and I love it then too.
If I'm going to be honest, listening to all the Altered by Mom songs, I was flipping through Kijiji bass guitar section as I do every night.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You just never know what's out there.
You got to keep looking. Well, thank you so much for having us. We are so pleased
treat
to chat with you guys.
Thank you guys so much. And also to our listening audience, do yourselves a favor. Listen to the All About the Song episode 119 with Altered by Mom. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Heck yeah.
Woohoo.